I need to make it quite clear from the start of this presentation that in what I am about to say I refer to the politicians in Westminster and not the Scottish people as a whole. I am not Scotophobic. I do not hate the people of Scotland. I wish them well in a future freedom that we are yet to dream of. I do, however, intensely dislike the people in this short film, the majority of whom happen to be Scottish. Nothing personal, of course. To Donald. It was a struggle. It may always be hard, but it was worth it. Scotland and England together on equal terms. Signed, Tony Blair. A self-congratulatory message confirming that they had insulated Scotland from what they were about to do to England. It is interesting to note that Blair's idea of equality is a parliament and self-determination for Scotland and regionalisation and obliteration for England. Here, Brown exposes his long-held ambition to create the nations and regions of Britain. The nations being the sovereign ethnic states of Scotland and Wales, along with the regions, populated by ancient mongrel invaders. This is part of a speech given in Edinburgh by the Scottish Member of Parliament who controls England's money. He, like the man who appointed him, was elected in Scotland and thus comfortably and conveniently unaccountable in England. I have never heard a more revealing statement. It perfectly illustrates the motives, intent and the loyalties of those that have signed the Scottish Claim of Right. This from Mr. John Prescott, an inherited political attitude that was as prevalent in 1974. It allowed a consortium of Welshmen to collude with Ted Heath to steal the county of Monmouthshire and annex 500 square miles of England, along with an English population of some 400,000 English people. It takes an act of war to take territory and population from a sovereign state, but by using Britain as the umbrella to deny England a voice, the predators of the peripheral nations were able to accomplish what generations of enemies have failed to achieve. This is an extract from a speech that Reid made in his native Scotland whilst vigorously opposing the very same thing south of the border. This is another delightful little snippet from a speech that he made in his homeland. His next sentence was, "Not because they are against foreigners, but because they are for fairness." A statement of that nature made by an Englishman in England would see Mr. Reid and his politically correct friends baying for blood. Straw. It is very revealing to note the use of the word "thee" rather than "us" from an English constituency MP who claims to be English. He has been so long dependent on Scottish patronage that he's gone native, and this absolutely astounding statement justifies his status as a quisling. Another one of Straw's reckless statements. I am wholly opposed to an English Parliament. This is his rabid justification for that statement. If you go down that route, there would be little advantage seen for those in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland for maintaining the Union, because the argument would be, what exactly is in it for us? Now you could be excused for thinking that an English constituency MP should be asking, what is in it for England, instead of blatantly denying English interests and promoting the interests of those who are striving to become foreign countries. Just how low can a self-interested degenerate sink? The English have used their propensity to violence to subjugate Ireland, Wales and Scotland. Now this little weasel is in an English constituency and claims to be English. You couldn't write a horror story worse. Whoever stands against this creature in his constituency needs to get these statements down onto leaflets and distribute them as widely as possible. He's got to be stopped. This charmer is no longer with us in body, but nevertheless he's still the embodiment of the evil intent to ethnically cleanse the English nation. Now this would be quite comical if it were not said with such vicious intent, and it's very rich coming from a native of a country that retaliated to English immigration by burning us out. It has since been admitted by a senior Welsh police officer that they took the crime reports but made very little effort to catch those responsible. Lord Falconer, unelected mercenary fighting in the land of the old enemy, whilst taking his pay, employment and privileges. The Lord Chancellor is the highest officer of the Crown, head of the judiciary, and he presides in the House of Lords. He has almost no authority in Scotland. Yet the last three were Lord Mackay of Clashfern, Lord Irving of Larg, Lord Falconer of Thoroton, all Scots. Dismissive contempt from yet another of Blair's lordships, who sups at our table. That smug grimace seems to have enthralled at least one young lady, or should I say lassie. David Donald Cameron, a prominent English constituency MP, once again sucking up to public popularism in Scotland. He does so knowing that it will be reported, but he holds English opinion in such contempt, confident in the full knowledge that a disunited England will not retaliate, and it is very disturbing to realise that he will strive to keep it that way. When in Scotland he boasts that there is a lot of Scottish blood flowing through his veins. He doesn't shout too loudly about that in England. In Malcolm Rifkind we have a Scottish MP whose own countrymen voted him out of his Edinburgh constituency, and as a consequence he was parachuted into a safe English seat at the expense of an English candidate. He now spends his time ensuring that Conservative policy does not allow the English the same privilege of self-determination that he so supports for his homeland. Kennedy. Charles Kennedy. Here he brags to his fellow countrymen of the progress made to fragment England. He followed this one up with his gloating sang-froid speech, which subsequently rebounded when he was ejected from office and cruelly labelled the drunken failure. In this statement, Campbell acknowledges Britain as an entity, but quite cynically denies England. Yet another from a party that's had a succession of Scots as leaders. Steele, Kennedy and himself, each a signatory to the Scottish Claim of Right. People who live in a recognised country, governed by their own people and with an awareness of self-identity, find it absolutely incredible that an ancient and respected nation like us English have allowed an almost inconsequential country like Scotland to dominate our homeland. We need to hang on to our constitution. It may come in handy. I need to say this to the complacent English. Consider if the roles were reversed, and it was England doing this to the Scots. There would be a Tartan Republican army ferrying truckloads of agrochemicals down the M6 to the tune of the bagpipes before you could say, "What's that whining sound?" If it was in France, every lamppost for the length of the Champs-Élysées would be decorated with a politician. We need to wake up. We need to get mobile.